Hello, my name is Bruce Miller, and I'm with RIMtech Consulting, and I'm here to talk briefly about our course Metadata for SharePoint Deep Dive. So this is a one-day virtual online course. It's vendor neutral in that it doesn't matter which of the five uh, record-keeping software products you use in your EDRMS project. It's vendor neutral 100%. Everything you learn here will be equally applicable no matter which of the five you end up with, or it doesn't matter if you don't know which of the five. Doesn't matter. This is all about metadata for SharePoint. Now, because it's a deep dive course, you should not take it without a prerequisite, which means any of our courses that have the foundation in them, the foundation being the morning half of the course teaches you all the basics of EDRMS, what the numbers are, the language, the terminology, the concepts, what are case records. That's really important. So please do not take this course unless you've taken another course with the foundation, okay? Because we're not going to take the time here. We're going to go deep for the full day into metadata, hardcore metadata. And I promise you, it'll be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to understand unless you've taken that prerequisite course with the foundation, okay? Now, having said that, let's talk about metadata. So what we're going to cover here is how to define, build, and deploy all the metadata in any modern EDRMS, okay? So the frequent topic that comes up with metadata is how much is too much? How much is too little? Well, in our opinion, too much metadata is a bad thing, and too little metadata is a bad thing. We'll teach you what is the right balance, okay? The balance that we have been observing over the years is 14/2.1. That means that the average number of metadata fields that we define per business activity is 14. But of those 14, the average number of those 14 that the user has to fill in is 2.1. So it's a great balance. Rich metadata for good search, retrieval, sorting, and filtering versus low effort level on behalf of the users. They only have to fill out two fields. Often it's just one. Okay. So very, very nice balance there. So what are the topics? Well, the first one and the most tricky one is case versus document fields. Every column, and that's what Microsoft calls a metadata field, a column, every column is going to be either a case column or a document column, and you have to understand what the difference is and how to specify it to the software. We'll look at different types of metadata, different column types. That's what you see on the screen up here right now is the various types of columns. We're going to look at the SharePoint IA or information architecture, and that is what libraries do we need? How many? What are they called? How much metadata for each one? How do we assign columns to those libraries appropriately? That's what the SharePoint IA is all about. And you can have hundreds of libraries. In fact, you will. You'll have hundreds of libraries and thousands of columns defined within or across those libraries. That's normal, okay? So what we're going to cover is how to define them and then deploy them. The deployment, once they're defined, can take you a year and hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're going to talk about Catalyst information governance tools to shrink that into potentially days, okay? Certainly a lot less than years. We'll also talk about file share and how to go from a file share to SharePoint. What does that transition look like and feel like? How do we get there? We'll talk about the need for speed. Now, this is what we've observed over the years. Metadata can be complex and very time consuming. The worst thing you can do is go up to a business unit and say, what metadata would you like? Well, you know what you're going to hear back? What's metadata anyway? And you could chew up an hour just explaining what it is, and you're done. That's it. You don't have time to actually do the work. So we're going to teach you methods to speed up the business unit interviews and how to get the metadata defined in as short of time period as possible. We'll talk about the two types of metadata. There are two layers. The first layer is non-negotiable compliance metadata, and the second layer is useful business metadata for retrieval, searching, and sorting. Okay. We'll talk about the 5 different types of lists and why you only really need 2 of them. We'll talk about the SharePoint taxonomy, which is the managed metadata and why it's so important and how to use it properly. And we'll talk about a really unique column we call document type, when, why to apply it, and how it's so potent. And we'll end at teaching you how to estimate the effort it's going to take you to define all this metadata. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Um, in the description below, you'll find 3 links. The first link will take you to a document with the details on this course. The second link will take you to our schedule of all our training. And the third link will allow you to register for this course. That's it. Thank you very much.